The sun was dipping low over the Colorado plains, painting the sky in streaks of copper and crimson. Dust hung in the air, shimmering like gold in the dying light, while the ranch lay quiet except for the low hum of cicadas and the restless neigh of horses. Jedediah Jed Walker, a broad-shouldered rancher hardened by years of labor and loss, tightened the strap on his saddle and scanned the horizon. He wasn't a man who spooked easily, but that evening something about the silence gnawed at him. The world felt watchful. He turned toward the ranch house where his lantern already burned in the window, his only comfort in the endless sweep of prairie. But then he saw her, a lone rider, a woman cloaked in black, moving across the prairie like a shadow. She rode up slow, her horse heaving with exhaustion, and slid from the saddle without a word. Her face was hidden under a wide-brimmed hat and a kerchief, and the long black duster she wore swallowed her shape. "You're far from town," Jed called, hand resting near the butt of his revolver, suspicion running deep. Travelers didn't come this way without reason. She lifted her head, just enough for him to glimpse pale lips and eyes that seemed to shimmer like wet stone. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracked and hoarse. "I need water, shelter." Something in her tone cut through Jed's mistrust. Against his better judgment, he led her inside. The cabin was warm with firelight, and the woman moved slowly, like every step weighed her down. Jed poured water into a tin cup and handed it to her, watching carefully as she drank. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Maria," she finally said, though the word trembled on her tongue as if it wasn't the truth. Jed noticed then the oddness about her hands. Gloved, though it was sweltering in the cabin, she clutched them tight in her lap as if afraid to move. Hours passed in strained silence until finally she whispered, Don't take it off," Jed frowned. "Take what off?" Her hand rose shakily to the kerchief tied around her neck. "This," she said, her eyes dark and pleading. "Promise me, rancher, whatever happens tonight, you must not take it off." A chill crawled down Jed's spine, though the fire roared bright. He forced a laugh. "Lady, I don't make a habit of undressing strangers," but she didn't smile. Her gaze bore into him sharp as a blade. "Swear it," she demanded. He nodded slowly, unsettled but unwilling to push. She sighed and leaned back, exhaustion overtaking her. Before long, she drifted into a restless sleep on his cot, muttering words he couldn't understand. Jed sat by the fire, wrestling with his thoughts. Something about her unsettled him. The desperation, the secrecy, the way the flames seemed to bend toward her shadow. And all the while, the warning echoed in his head. Don't take it off. The hours dragged until midnight. The wind rose, rattling the shutters, and the horses in the barn screamed like they'd seen a wolf. Jed stood, nerves taut, and glanced at Maria. She thrashed in the bed, whispering in a tongue he couldn't place. His eyes dropped to the kerchief around her neck. It was old, faded red, stained with something darker than dust. Curiosity, that cruel trait of man, gnawed at him. Why guard a scrap of cloth so fiercely? What secret could it hide? Against the memory of her pleading voice, his hand twitched toward her. He told himself it was concern, that maybe she was injured, that maybe the cloth hid a wound. But deep down, he knew it was pride, the stubborn hunger to know. The rancher leaned in, breath shallow, and with careful fingers untied the knot. The kerchief slipped loose. Maria's body went still, and then Jed's world shattered. What he saw beneath was not a wound, nor any human thing. The skin of her neck was gray and cracked, as if burned to ash, and from the seam of her collarbone down her chest spread a mark, black and twisted, pulsing faintly with a sickly red glow like embers buried under coal. Her eyes shot open, wide and blazing, no longer human but molten fire. She hissed, a sound that was neither woman nor beast. Jed stumbled back, heart pounding. Revolver half raised but useless against the horror before him. Maria rose from the cot, the kerchief falling to the floor like a shed skin. "I warned you," she said, voice layered with something inhuman. And Jed, for the first time in his life, felt terror grip his soul. The wind outside howled like a banshee, slamming the shutters against the cabin walls as the fire guttered low. Jed's revolver shook in his hand, sweat rolling down his temple though the room had turned icy cold. Maria, or whatever she truly was, stood before him, her form flickering like a flame caught between worlds. Her face was half beautiful, half rotted, as though two realities fought for dominance. The glow pulsing from her chest spread outward like roots beneath her skin. Jed's instincts screamed to shoot, to run, but his boots felt nailed to the floor. She stepped closer, every word dripping with sorrow and rage. "You shouldn't have touched it." "Now it's loose." "What's loose?" Jed demanded, voice cracking. He had faced stampedes, gunfights, rattlesnakes in his bedroll, but nothing like this. Maria raised a trembling hand to her neck, where the kerchief had once bound her secret. The curse, bound by cloth, sealed by blood. "You broke it." Her voice dropped, soft as the grave. "And now it will feed." The lanterns flickered, shadows writhing across the log walls. From outside came the sound of hooves pounding the earth. Though no horse should be running at such an hour, Jed's heart lurched. He moved to the window and froze. Figures were gathering in the moonlight, men and women in old, tattered clothes, their faces hollow and eyeless, drifting like smoke. They circled the ranch, silent, waiting. Jed backed away from the window, chest tight. "What are they?" he asked. Maria's gaze was heavy with sorrow. "The others. Those who broke their promise. Ranchers, drifters, lawmen. They saw what you saw, and now they belong to it." She pointed toward his chest, and Jed felt a burning ache blossom beneath his sternum, a faint glow pressing through his shirt. His skin crawled. "No," he growled, shaking his head. "No, I won't be part of this." He raised the revolver, cocked the hammer. But Maria only laughed, a sound filled with pity. "Bullets can't kill what you've unleashed." The spirits outside pressed closer, their hollow eyes peering through the cracks. The walls groaned as if under their weight. Jed's breath came ragged, his body betraying him as the glow spread down his arms. He felt them, hungry whispers clawing at his mind, pulling him toward the window. Maria clutched her kerchief from the floor and held it tight against her chest. But it no longer bound her. "I warned you," she repeated, her voice breaking. "You could have saved yourself. Now you'll walk with them." Jed roared in defiance, slamming his fist against the table. "I ain't walking with no devil." In a frenzy, he threw open the cabin door, revolver blazing into the night. The shots cracked, echoing across the prairie, but the bullets tore only through smoke and silence. The figures did not flinch. They closed in. Maria stepped into the doorway behind him, her shadow long and broken. "It's too late," she whispered. Jed dropped the revolver, his strength ebbing as the glow overtook him. His knees buckled, and before his eyes the spirits reached out, their touch cold as the grave. For a moment he felt weightless, as if his soul were slipping free. He screamed, one long guttural cry that split the night, and then silence. The prairie wind swallowed the sound. When the first light of dawn touched the ranch, the cabin was empty. No man, no woman, no bodies. Only the kerchief lay in the dirt, still stained dark. Travelers who passed that way in the years to come spoke of strange lights on the horizon, whispers on the wind, and shadows moving just beyond sight. They said a rancher's pride damned him to wander forever with the cursed, and that some nights, if you listened close, you could hear his voice begging the same words that once doomed him. "Don't take it off.